Welcome to another match preview here on my channel. Next up for Birmingham is a trip to Hull to face the Tigers, and I'm delighted here to be joined by Benedict, who's a writer for Football League World who covers Birmingham City and Hull. How are you doing, Benedict?
I'm good. Hopefully, be another interesting game like it was back in October. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
It was a really interesting game back in October because Hull were the team that broke the long Birmingham City unbeaten run at home in the league, and it was a 3-2 victory, so plenty of goals on that day. And that seems to be a bit of a theme throughout the whole season for Hull because there's only three teams that have conceded more goals and only three teams that have scored more as well. So really interesting whenever Hull plays, and makes for great viewing, I imagine.
Yeah, it can be obviously quite enjoyable, but quite infuriating at the same time. Obviously, the owner is known for wanting entertaining football, but I think there needs to obviously kind of be a balance. And we have been a lot better defensively, I'd say, since about December, January. There was a patch where we got a fair few clean sheets, but in the last few matches, that seems to have gone away. And the goalkeeping situation has been quite a big talking point between Panda and Dylan Phillips. Phillips has obviously played in the cup matches, and he did okay against Oxford the other week when Panda was coming back from international duty. But yeah, obviously Saturday's game against Sheffield United was a bit of a disaster towards the end.
Because what happened was is that Hull took the lead and then Lundstrom got sent off, former Sheffield United player, and then they get goals in the 85th and the 88th minute to go on and win the game. So looking on from a whole perspective, that's three games without a win now. Is there just a slight wobble happening with the position that Hull are in and the pressure that they've got on them?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I think obviously a lot of people will kind of view that. I think the Sheffield United game is an interesting one because up until the 75th minute, to be fair to them, they had a fair few chances and they really should have scored one in the first half. I think it was Bamford got on the end of a really good counter attack and we were a bit fortunate there. But you sort of had the belief that we would grind it out. We've done that a fair few times this season against like Middlesbrough away. We soaked up a lot of pressure and ground out a 1-0 win. So I think you're kind of expecting the same. And the Lundstrom sending off is kind of the event that sparked it all off. And I think there was a fair bit of an implosion. Penalty is another debate for itself. Manager and Ollie McBurney weren't too happy about it. So yeah, I just think it's one of them where the Coventry game beforehand was one that not many were expecting a result. When we matched Coventry, and that was an encouraging sign. But obviously the game before that against Oxford as well, that was not the best performance, but it was kind of one of them where you're not at your best, you take the result. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens on next weekend after what happened at Bramall Lane.
And as for the whole manager, Sergei Yurevich, he's been nominated for Manager of the Season award. And going into this season, there's not a lot of English fans and maybe whole fans that didn't know about him. And what's his football been like to be able to watch? Because you alluded to there earlier about the owner wanting entertaining football. And does he suit that philosophy?
Oh, definitely. I think you can see the forward players we've got. We've got a lot of speed on the counter, which is, to be fair, where two of our goals came at St Andrews in the reverse fixture. So we've got likes of McBurney. I think in recent games, obviously he broke his goal drought last weekend. There was a fair few games before where he's not really getting any service, and I think a lot of that is down to the fact that Ryan Giles has been out injured for nearly 2 months, but I think he's actually back for this game, or Sergei Yurevich is hoping that he's going to be back. But no, his football's been really entertaining to watch. And yeah, I'm not really surprised that he's been nominated for Manager of the Season. No, I didn't have any expectations at the start of this season, really, even obviously not knowing much about him, not really knowing how he sets his team up. But yeah, no surprises that he's been nominated, and hopefully he wins it. I think from a neutral perspective, a lot of people would hope it's between him or Alex Neil, but I think in reality it's going to go to Frank Lampard. Let's be honest.
Would you give Manager of the Season to Yurevich? I know obviously you cover Hull and have watched a lot of their games, but do you think he's done the best job? Because I'd say of all the promotion contenders this season, I feel like Hull was the one that barely anybody predicted, and they've been right up there challenging.
Yeah, he said it himself that I think he didn't expect us to even be in this position, that he realistically expected 10th to 15th. I think it's one of those seasons where, yes, we haven't really got the credit we deserved at times. We have took advantage of a fair few teams that you would expect to be at the top of the league, really having poor seasons, the likes of Leicester and West Brom, who, I mean, West Brom the other week really, that was a result that no one really saw coming, but they proved how dangerous they can be. But we've kind of, between about October and January, we're really consistent. It's kind of been a bit mixed since then. But yeah, I would personally, I know it's a bit biased, but I would give it to Jurkovic based on what he's had little to work with in terms of transfer budgets. We've been under an embargo, and almost every week we seem to get a player injured. I don't know if Cody Dramé has now been a feature against his former club on Saturday because he's the latest one that's got an injury, and Kumas as well was injured on Saturday, and Collier, who was really good against Coventry, it's his first start for us, and then all of a sudden he wasn't in the squad on Saturday either. So it's like, what can he do? But he seems to be pulling out of the bag most weeks.
You've actually linked on to my next question there. So I was going to speak about the players that used to play for Birmingham that are now wearing a whole shirt, and Cody Drame is one of them, someone that was in that relegation team, but I feel like he gave a decent account of himself. And with Lewis Kumas, someone that you imagine would have watched a lot of football this season because of the fact that he's played for Birmingham and for Hull as well. And in the 13 games he's played for Hull, he scored 3 goals, around 580 minutes played. What have you made of both of them this season?
It's been interesting with both of them. I think Kumas, when I was watching at Blues, it was kind of really frustrating watch, and I think as he's come into this whole team, I think it's just the different style that we play in contrast to Blues, where I think we're a bit more direct, and we've obviously got pace at the top end of the pitch. I know Blues have as well, but I think it's more possession based with how Chris Davis sets out his team. So I think just the way we play has really suited Kumas, and I think the manager said once we got him that he obviously really wanted him in the summer, but we obviously couldn't get the deal done ahead of Blues. And the same with Drame, he's been in and out of the team. I know there was a bit of talk in January that he was going to leave and that he wasn't particularly happy with the situation, but whenever he's played this season, he's not really done much wrong. And there's been a debate whether he should start over Louis Coyle at right back. I think they just offer you different attributes. Coyle's sort of a player that would just stereotypically just die for the badge. I mean, he's from Hull as well, so that kind of has been a hindrance as much of a help for him. People seem to think that he gets away with a lot of things that other players wouldn't. But Drame as well, he's played at left back as well as right back, so he's one of them where he's not really done much wrong whenever he's played in different positions when he's had to.
With watching both teams this season, why do you think that Hull have picked up more points and more wins than Birmingham?
Oh, that is a really hard question to answer. Because I remember at the start of the season, I've had this conversation with a lot of people I know that support, obviously, the team. I was pretty confident that Blues will finish in the top six, and I think now it's kind of only possible that if you won every game and City lost every game, that we'd end up on the same amount of points, which I don't think anyone would have said at the start of the season. I think it's just obviously been that consistency which we've had in a lot of games, which again is bizarre to think with the amount of injuries that we've had. But I think it's just been the mentality of the squad that's kind of dragged us more than anything. We've got a lot of experience in the team. There's obviously a lot of ex-Sheffield United players in the squad that have played with each other before, so they've got like the pre-established connection, know how each other play, and they've got the experience of getting promoted. I think it's more of a like us against them sort of mentality. The fact that no one has given us a chance, the fact that we had a transfer embargo, and obviously the fact that no one expected us to be in this position. Whereas I think Blues maybe it's the complete opposite. There's been a lot of pressure, and I think some of the players maybe have not been able to live up to that pressure.
Yeah, I think that's a fair analysis to make because I feel like Hull have been a bit under the radar and people constantly saying, "Oh, they're going to drop off eventually, going to drop off eventually," and then they just continue to prove people wrong. But with the amount of games that we've got this season, really in the thick of it now with the run in, what league position do you think that Hull will finish in? Do you think they'll hang on to the playoffs? Because at the time of speaking, it's Sunday night and we've just kind of done you a bit of a favour by beating Wrexham 2-0. So where do you think that Hull will finish at the end of the season?
Think we'll just about do enough to come sixth. I think now we've been overtaken by Southampton. I think the form they're in, I think they might even possibly leapfrog Middlesbrough because obviously Middlesbrough haven't won in, I think it's 6 games now. I think Southampton might even come third, or I mean, it's not really even out of the realms of possibility they could challenge for second because one of their games in hand is against Ipswich. So I think for now there was a slight glimmer that maybe we could just about get second, but I think that was like a pipe dream more than anything. I think now it's going to be focusing on getting sixth. I think we'll just do enough. I think the fact we've got Leicester away, and Leicester, I think there's a possibility if they lose next week that we could even relegate Leicester, depending on how the results fold. I think their form's horrendous, so I fancy us against them. Charlton is kind of an interesting one because they've been another surprising team this season, but that's not going to be easy. And then obviously Norwich at home last game. I know they were on a bit of a run, but obviously they lost to Ipswich last time. So I think the fixtures are kind of, in a way, I expect us to just about do enough and hope. And I'm not sure whether Wrexham have got the got the got the chance to do it. I think, judging on how they played today and when I've seen them this season, I've not been overly impressed. And I think a lot of people will say that about the Championship in general, that the quality this season perhaps isn't as good as it's been in recent times.
Because with Birmingham, Leicester, Charlton, and Norwich as the final four games, where do you think this game at the MKM Stadium ranks amongst the difficulty with the ones that you've got left?
I think obviously it's a difficult game. The fact that Blues have got like second or third worst away record in the division doesn't help things either, because in the past it would be a game that Hull fans would think, great, a team that's been particularly poor on the road this season, they'll turn up after they've just done us a favour, they'll be confident, and it'll be one of those games where the pressure's on us to get a result, and we might fold. I'm hopefully expecting that we'll put in a performance similar to what we did against Coventry in our last home game, where I think we had the better chances against them, to be honest. But obviously, Blues are kind of in a period where they're kind of experimenting under Chris Davis at the minute. There's obviously a lot of pressure as to whether he'll keep his job at the end of the season. So, yeah, I think at this point it is the most important game of our season. If we don't win and Wrexham get a result against Stoke, then that really does put the pressure on us heading into the final three, and that's a position that I don't think many of us saw coming, even at half time on Saturday when we're 7 points clear of them, even though they had a game in hand.
Hull away's been very much a bogey fixture for Birmingham in recent years. You look at some of the score lines that have happened there as well. It's not really been a happy hunting ground. But looking to this game, Benedict, what's your score prediction for it?
I will have to just back Hull to get a 2-1, I think. Or I can see it being a draw potentially. I know Vicente has been particularly impressive for losing the last two games, and he obviously caused Ipswich a lot of problems. But hopefully, I know Jukanovic just said if we played like the way we did against Coventry and for the most part against Sheffield United, he has no concerns. I think the main intrigue about this game is genuinely going to be the mentality of our players. Are they going to be fired up after what happened? Obviously, there's a bit of a sense of injustice after the Sheffield United game. The chairman's come out and said some stuff on social media, which has definitely had a mixed reaction. Jukanovic has obviously been a bit fired up, so hopefully the Hull players will use that to their advantage and sneak hit like in October. But I'm expecting it to be a similar game. I think obviously there's a lot of drama in that game. I think there was obviously the scrap before the half-time whistle, so certainly there'll be a lot of needle in it for sure.
With all that being said, I think we'd happily take a point, to be honest. A 1-1 draw is what I'm predicting because of the magnitude of the game for Hull and what's on the line for you guys and your attacking force as well. So I feel like a point would be a decent result for Birmingham, and then just look forward to our home games remaining and try and pick up the maximum points there, because that's what we've been best at this season. So thank you so much for your time, Benedict, and for speaking to me. Where can we find you across social medias and what are you up to at the moment?
So I'm just writing for Football League World at the minute, as you said, covering a lot of Hull and Blues, being based in the West Midlands. You can find me on Twitter at bferraby7 and on my Football League World page. Just type the name in alongside Football League World and you'll be able to find my work on there. And yeah, it's been great. Thanks for having me on.
And a quick final question. What's your favourite Birmingham game that you've covered this season?
I would say the Coventry game in January. That was an eventful game. There's a lot of interesting games that have happened with Blues this season. I think the last one that I covered was the the QPR game. Even though that was a 1-0 win, that was a bit of a non-event for most of the game, to be honest. So yeah, I would have to say the Coventry game and last season was obviously a fair few eventful games that I remember covering. The Barnsley game 6-2, the Virtue Trophy, even though that was a loss for Blues, that was still a great experience. And then obviously the Mansfield game, that was another interesting occasion where the trophy lift happened. So yeah, Blues have given me some good memories from a reporting point of view. And yeah, just hopefully that Hull kind of get a win on Saturday against them. I apologise.
No, I tell you what, you spoke well enough about Birmingham there, Benedict, the fact that you've been there for some big fixtures. So I'll give you a shout out for, if you want to read any match reports of the games, if you're not there and want to find out about what happened, feel free to read Benedict's stuff. It's really good and highly recommend. So thanks so much for your time, and thank you everybody for watching this video doing the match preview. I'll have the remaining match previews of the games left of the season. Be sure to like, share, comment and subscribe, and keep right on.